We will now look at all of the physical features around the world, and we're going to look at it by region. So as we go through the presentation, if you will have your physical map so that you are able to locate and label the features that we will focus on. We will begin today by looking at the physical features that make up North America. The Rocky Mountains dominate the western North American continent, extending from northern Alberta and British Columbia southward into New Mexico. On the east, we have the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachian Mountains extend from the Canadian province of Newfoundland and Labrador into the state of Alabama. They form a natural barrier between the eastern coastal plain and the vast interior lowlands of North America. Because of this, they play a significant role in the settlement and the development of the entire continent. In between these two mountain systems, we have a region known as the Great Plains. The Great Plains contain some of the world's most productive farmland. Now, to the east of the Great Plains, we have the Mississippi River. So if you will locate and label the Mississippi River, if it is not on your map already. The Mississippi River is the fourth longest river in the world and drains much of the United States. Now it drains into our next feature, which is the Gulf of Mexico. The Gulf of Mexico is known as the Mediterranean of the Americas and is located in the southeastern corner of North America. Now further down south, you have the Panama Canal. Now the Panama Canal is a 48-mile long international waterway. This canal is located in the country of Panama in Central America, and it allows ships to pass between the Atlantic Ocean and the Pacific Ocean, saving about 8,000 miles from a journey around the southern tip of South America. Now we will look at the physical features that make up South America. In South America, on the west, we have the Andes Mountains. The Andes Mountains extend about 4,500 miles across the western coast and are considered to be the world's longest mountain chain. They were also once the basis of the Inca Empire. We have the Amazon River, that is the second longest river in the world, and it drains into the Atlantic Ocean. Hundreds of small rivers join the Amazon as it flows from the Andes into the Atlantic. Now together, all of these rivers form what is known as the next feature, which is the Amazon Basin. The basin drains an area of more than 2 million square miles. We will now look at the physical features of Africa. As you can see in this map, you only have the northern part of Africa. So we will look at the northern part of Africa first, and then we will look at the southern part of Africa. For the sake of a physical features map, please ignore any other regions that do not form a part of the African continent. Now we will first look at the Sahara Desert, which takes up most of North Africa and is the world's largest desert. It separates Africans north and south of it because this dry, sandy region is very difficult to cross. And for centuries, the Sahara isolated sub-Saharan Africa. Sub-Saharan Africa is anything south of the Sahara from the rest of the world. We also have the Atlas Mountains, which are located on the northwest edge of Africa. We have the Strait of Gibraltar. The Strait of Gibraltar is a channel that connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Atlantic Ocean and is found in the northwest part of Africa. We have the Mediterranean Sea. And the Mediterranean Sea is the largest inland sea in the world. We have the Suez Canal, and it is a 101-mile canal that connects the Mediterranean Sea to the Gulf of Suez, which is a northern branch of the Red Sea. And we have the Nile River. Now the Nile River will extend into southern Africa, but it is the longest river in the world. Now we will look at the southern part of Africa. The Nile River extends from northern Africa into the southern part of Africa. The banks of the Nile River provide some of the richest farmland in Africa. We also have the Sahel, and the Sahel is a semi-arid region that makes up that is located in West and North Central Africa, and it is a transition zone between the arid Sahara Desert to the north and the humid savannas to the south. We also have Mount Kilimanjaro. Mount Kilimanjaro is one of Africa's highest peaks. We have the Congo River, and the Congo River is the second longest river in Africa. We're now going to look at the physical features that make up Europe. We start by looking at the English Channel, and the English Channel separates the southern coast of England from the northern coast of France. Next we have the North Sea, and we have the Baltic Sea. And to the south you'll see the Danube River, and the Danube River is the second longest river in Europe. You also have the Balkan Peninsula, which makes up one of the three peninsulas of Europe. And to the northwest region of the Balkan Peninsula, you'll see the Alps Mountains. And the Alps Mountains are one of the highest and most extensive mountain range systems found in Europe. And to the east, you have the Ural Mountains. And the Ural Mountains form a natural border between the continents of Asia and Europe. And we have the Northern European Plain. Before we continue to the next regions, please review the following regions to make sure that you have located and labeled the physical features listed. Now we're going to look at the continent of Asia and the physical features of Asia. However, we are going to separate it into smaller regions. We'll begin by looking at Southwest Asia. Now we're going to locate some physical features that make up Southwest Asia. This region is also known as the Middle East. We start by looking at the Tigris and Euphrates River, and these two rivers together form the greatest river system of Southwest Asia. In the southeast region, you'll see the Arabian Sea. We have the Strait of Hormuz, the Persian Gulf, And we have the Aral Sea. Now we're going to take a look at South Asia, also known as the Indian subcontinent. And by subcontinent, it's just a large piece of land that is smaller than the continent. Now this region is about the size of the United States. Let's begin by looking at some of the rivers. We have the Indus River to the west, and we have the Ganges River on the northeast. Now the Ganges River rises in the Himalayas and eventually empties out into the Bay of Bengal. It drains about a fourth of the territory of India, and its basin supports hundreds of millions of people. We have the Bay of Bengal, the Deccan Plateau, and to the north of India, you'll find the Himalayan mountains. The Himalayan mountains are the highest mountains in the world, and they separate the Indian subcontinent from the rest of Asia. You will also see Mount Everest. Now let's take a look at East Asia and the physical features that make up this region. In East Asia, you'll find the Plateau of Tibet, Mount Fuji, and Mount Fuji is found on the island of Japan. Mount Fuji is an extinct volcano, and it's the highest and most famous mountain in Japan. We have the Yangtze River, the Huanghe, also known as the Yellow River. And the Yellow River is the second longest river in China, but it is also considered the cradle of Chinese civilization. It is in the basin of the Yellow River is the birthplace of the northern Chinese civilizations that you'll study more in world history. We also have the Mekong River, and the South China Sea. The next features that we are going to talk about are located in Australia, and the first is the Australian outback. The Australian outback is in the center or the inland part of Australia. Then you have Ayers Rock, which is also found in the Australian outback. And the Ayers Rock is one of the most impressive landmarks in Australia.